An NFL insider has revealed Darren Muji and the New York Jets' next plans, and this will have a major implication on next season and the long-term future for the New York Jets as the New York Jets figure out where to go from here with their new regime of Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji at the helm. And we're going to break it all down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. Guys, if you're enjoying the channel, make sure to subscribe if you're part of that 75% that's not subscribed to Jets Digest. This is the place to be for all New York Jets content. But let's jump into the video because we have a lot to discuss. The New York Jets, they're in an interesting position as both Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson are up for contract extensions. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to come this season, but they could be coming soon as Darren Muji has spoken about his plans for two of the Jets' core young players, arguably the two best players on the New York Jets. So just taking a dive right into it, there's been a lot of noise about these contract extensions, and Rich Cimini mentioned that cornerback Sauce Gardner is one of the first players contacted by newly hired head coach Aaron Glenn, who also reached out quickly to wide receiver Garrett Wilson. Smart moves by the first-time head coaches. Gardner and Wilson are foundational players. Of course, nothing spreads happiness better than a contract extension, and they're eligible for the first time. And it sounds like general manager Darren Muji is on board with the idea of locking up the two stars who are both entering year 4 of their career. And Darren Muji himself, word for word, said the to-do list is to keep good young players on the team and add good players. I've never heard of that idea in my life, Matt, that you want to keep the good young players and then add good players. That's stunning news to me. And, all right, in all seriousness, the Dallas Mavericks don't know how to do that, but most professional basketball teams do. So, well, and NFL teams and all professional sports teams. Sorry, I just did 2 Knicks Digest videos in a row, guys. I'm thinking basketball. But look, the New York Jets, they are in a position to extend 2 of their key players, and it's not even a choice. You extend both of them, Matt. Everyone agrees. No one's going to dispute that the Jets shouldn't extend either of these guys. Sauce Gardner has been, the way he started his NFL career has been historic. He's been arguably, over the last 3 seasons, he spent at least 2 of them as the best cornerback in the NFL, including his rookie season. He's just a 2-time All-Pro. I don't have to convince anyone that Sauce Gardner is great at football. And Sauce Gardner does his best to not have to convince anyone that he wants to stay with the New York Jets for a long time. He's tweeted out about his contract extension in the past, saying that the fact that 5th-year cornerbacks or 5th-year options on cornerbacks are so much lower, he said is really screwed up. So he's openly talked about his contract extension on Twitter, as he knows he's going to get a bank-breaking contract extension that'll totally reset the market. And on top of that, he also tweeted out, literally word for word, as you can see on the screen right now, I don't like keeping secrets. That's why I don't hesitate to say I want to be a Jet long term. Matt, Sauce Gardner is everything you want as a franchise defender and one of the lead guys on your NFL team. Sauce, 2-time Pro Bowler, I mean, AP Defensive Player of the Year. The awards go on and on. The awards go on and on. Or AP Rookie of the Year, sorry, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Wrong words. I can't read, guys. I'm staring at too many screens. But look, 15 games this season, 1 interception, had a bit of a down year, but on top of that, played really well, career 3 interceptions. Sauce Gardner is just the man. Everyone knows it, Matt. You don't really need to, not much else to say.
No, absolutely not. Sauce Gardner, the first rookie cornerback to be awarded first-team All-Pro honor since Ronnie Lott, a defensive back that many analysts considered to be the best defensive back in the history of the game, but Ronnie Lott was not the first-team All-Pro cornerback his second season the way Sauce Gardner was this season. It really looks like over the offseason, going from the 2023 season to the 2024 season, it looks like the NFL, whoever makes all the decisions, they talked amongst themselves and talked about specifically looking at Sauce Gardner's holding, and it feels like this whole season they made a point to call out Sauce Gardner specifically on defensive holding, because he held a little bit more this year than he did those first 2 years, but he got called for a lot more penalties than what he's been used to in the NFL. And it feels like the NFL is trying to send him a message. And just like you said, even though this third season was not as good as his first 2 in the league, I am still extremely confident that Sauce Gardner is going to be an elite corner. He's going to return to being a top 10, 5 corner, whatever you want to award him. He's going to be a great corner. has to get signed to big money. I'm not afraid at all to award him the highest paid cornerback contract in the NFL. He absolutely deserves it. Maybe he's not better than Pat Surtain this year. He was for his first 2 years in the NFL. He can get back there this season as well. We know it's a better idea to pay these guys earlier rather than later, because every single time a top cornerback gets paid, the market just goes higher and higher and higher. So you want to get these guys paid as early as possible, which is why it's important that the New York Jets get both Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson paid this offseason, and don't pull the Dallas Cowboys move of waiting till next offseason. It's also important that they get it done early in the offseason, because we've seen what happens. We saw CeeDee Lamb just last season with the Dallas Cowboys. He held out the entire offseason, was not with the team. Also, we saw Jamar Chase not being with the team. Those guys showed up very late in the offseason training programs, and they played the very beginning of the season, weeks 1 to 4, but it was obvious that they were not their normal elite selves. Garrett Wilson, we got to get him paid early so there's no disgruntledness coming out of his camp. We got to get him on board as soon as we possibly can. We're not going to beat around the bush here. Both these guys deserve to be paid, and I'm very happy to hear that Darren Muji's next steps are to pay both of these elite players.
Yeah, they both deserve contract extensions. There's really even no other way to put it. But diving into some other stuff, Matt, also mentioned by Rich Cimini that league-wide it's uncommon for former first-round picks at corner and wide receiver to land extensions before their fourth season. I misread that. But the times are a-changin'. Apologies to Bob Dylan, as he says. It happens this past year with Denver Broncos cornerback Pat Surtain, who obviously that worked out. He won Defensive Player of the Year in 2024. And it's important to note that Darren Muji was previously the Broncos assistant GM and was involved in the process of paying Pat Surtain. So all likelihood, what we're going to see is Sauce Gardner getting paid as soon as possible. So we're going to see that one get done. I'm happy with it. I want to see Sauce get paid. But also on the topic of Garrett Wilson, probably most Jets fans' favorite player. Garrett Wilson, we all know it's coming. Connor Hughes talked about it. Sources agreed. Sauce Gardner is a far simpler deal. He'll reset the cornerback market as the highest paid player because the two-time All-Pro first-team selection is arguably the NFL's top corner, certainly has been for 2 of his 3 seasons in the NFL. Garrett Wilson is a bit more complicated. He's a tremendous player, but is he the 5th best receiver in the NFL? Lower? Higher? How does Wilson view himself compared to the Jets? That one could take a little more time. I think it makes more sense that Sauce Gardner is going to get extended first. We've seen Garrett Wilson be a little bit more skittish with being on the Jets long term. However, after they got rid of Aaron Rodgers, that seemed to be a good sign in Garrett Wilson's eyes, who liked the idea of moving on from Rodgers. So that's going to have an impact on things as well, Matt. Look, obviously it's the same thing. You just pay Garrett Wilson, a guy who last year in the 17 games that he played had 1,104 yards, 11 yards per reception, 7 touchdowns. For his career, he has 14 touchdowns, so he doubled that this season. Had his best season in the NFL, is going to continue to grow on it. I mean, I think it's, again, you pay him when you can. You make sure he's happy so that you can lock him up long term and understand that you're going to have Garrett Wilson under your umbrella throughout his incoming prime. He's already great, but the incoming prime.
So, yeah, I agree with what you said. We have 2 guys to pay. We want to pay both of them. We want to get them both done early and don't really want to think about it too much. So, just like you said, let's get Sauce Gardner, the easy one to pay. We'll get Sauce Gardner out of the way first. He's going to be the highest paid cornerback. But then on to the topic of Garrett Wilson's contract extension. His money is going to be a lot more debatable. Like, he is going to be able to go into that meeting with Darren Muji and debate how much money he deserves. The thing you just read asked, is he the 5th best receiver in football? But I would argue that doesn't matter when it comes to paying guys like this. It doesn't matter where they're ranked. They're not going to be, he's the 2nd best wide receiver in football, so we're going to pay him like he's the second highest contract in football. These guys, when these young players go up to get signed, they're always looking for the most amount of money. We hopefully are going to be able to easily explain to Garrett that he's not worth that much money. The yardages that you explained are not super impressive for someone who, Garrett Wilson, we think with a real quarterback, we think Garrett Wilson could be top 5 yards in the NFL any given year. Like, 1,300 to 1,500 yards is what he could do in a single season. His seasons, of course, the yardage has been lowered, which is going to hurt how much he can earn in a contract negotiation. I mean, I would expect his contract to file in somewhere around that 5th overall contract, somewhere around $30 million. That's what Brandon Ayuk got last offseason. That's actually another guy. He held out. When he came back, he got injured because he didn't have the offseason. We got to make sure Garrett Wilson is not holding out. We have to get the contract done as early as possible in the middle of the offseason. And we got to make sure we don't beat around the bush with the money. We know he's looking for $30+ million. Maybe he doesn't get that much. I would certainly pay him 30.
Yeah,
maybe you offer him 29, 30, or 31. Just get him in that ballpark, and let's just get on the football field and play football.
Yeah, do whatever it takes to get Garrett Wilson, obviously within a bit of reason, but at the same time, it'll take around $30 million. It's kind of widely agreed that Garrett's going to be cool with that amount. And then, as you said, get it done early, make sure he's not going to hold out so you can get this man on the field playing football, prevent injuries. And on top of that, just so Jets fans can be happy with the management. Management understands being new means you got to get things done. You can't let someone hold out because many a time. Now, sometimes it's ridiculous reasoning. Garrett Wilson, most fans would take his side. If you're Hassan Reddick, things might be a little bit differently because you're asking for Myles Garrett money. But, well, we all know that Hassan Reddick shot himself completely in the foot with that, and he's not going to get much money in the offseason. So, bad idea, Hassan. At the end of the day, Matt, I do have one question before we sign off. If it was part of Garrett Wilson's contract, a stipulation, an escalator clause, if you will, well, not exactly because that would pay him more money, but basically if there was a stipulation in his contract that said that every week before the game, you guys have to do the tango together, are you in?
Me and Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, every game before.
I mean, if Garrett Wilson's paying me, then sure.
No.
Then I don't see what's in it for me.
You get to do the tango with Garrett Wilson. Did I not make that clear?
I mean, he's got enough money to pay me. I expect to be compensated.
He'll pay you in dance.
That's not good enough, Chris.
This
Dance doesn't pay the bills. Dance doesn't pay the bills, Chris.
It's ridiculous, guys. This is why we're not going to win next season. It's all Matt's fault. Guys, blame Matt for everything, but also subscribe to the channel because he can't get his dance with Garrett Wilson. Guys, have a great day and go Jets.